Alright, how's it going? My name is Ivo and welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna show you my drawing process for this quality piece of art. I'll do my best to give you some insight into my technique, so maybe I can help you become a better artist for free. I am an illustrator, designer and man of culture. So I've been wanting to make a traditional video for a while now, and I was really struggling with what to draw. At first I was thinking about making just a figure drawing, but I also wanted to add something more personal and make it a bit fantastical. Because I love fantasy, especially dark fantasy, and will probably do more of that in the future. I was looking for a good pose that had a nice rhythm to it. And for the fantasy part, I was thinking about adding some wings. And I also wanted to make it look like feathers were coming out of her face. Now I probably should have thought about it more at the beginning, as later I changed my mind about the wings and decided to add a tail instead, like she was part dragon or something. But in any case, I wanted the piece to look elegant and calm, but also have kind of a graphic aesthetic. So, very pleased with the idea at the moment and extremely sure that I wouldn't change my mind later, I started this drawing. We start this drawing by separating the darks and the lights into separate families. After that, we make a dark foundation for the dark family and a lighter one for the privileged family. At this point, it should look easy and graphic. Next, we have to figure out where her muscles and her bones are, so we can shade them correctly and try to not come up with new ones. In this case, the model is a bit slim and we cannot see every muscle super defined. But to be honest, this is kind of my favorite part. To try to figure out where they are is kind of like a puzzle that needs to be solved. And I have to keep going until I find the solution. For this, I also use some muscle reference in front of me when I'm drawing to make this process quicker. But even then, it still can be challenging. So we draw soft layers of graphite on the torso and build up the darkness on the shadow areas. So right now we're working on Bristol Vellum paper, and I love it because it's big, super thick, also the paper, 260 pounds, which is pretty thick for graphite, and it has an amazing texture. As an artist, it's good to draw in big spaces that justify our inner despair. We're only using graphite for this piece and we're doing most of it with Steadtler mechanical pencils. We use HB for the lighter shades, 2B for the medium shades and 8B for the darker shades. I just think there is something really nice about going back to basics and just use normal, plain graphite for a drawing, which I think is the first medium we all had to start with to learn how to draw. And finally, some drawing fundamentals, anatomy knowledge and our inner despair. At this point, we're trying to make sense of all the muscles on her neck and arms, and trying to find all the planes in her face so she doesn't look flat. I always like to do this little by little and take my time here, as any tiny mistake on the face can be really noticeable, and the same with the hands, since we're all very familiar with them. We're also taking care of the tendons and the bones and making sure the fingers are correctly separated and shadowed. After many years of drawing hands because I'm a masochist, I can tell you that the best way to practice them is to realize that 90% of the hand is bone. So if you understand what is beneath the skin, you will get better results. And also use a lot of reference. We continue with the hips, which are more meaty and round, and it's basically the same as drawing a sphere, with the big exception that we need to get the hip bone right, as it's an important landmark on the body. Also, the line weight needs to be different throughout the drawing, because we don't want to have the same boring line weight everywhere. And adding variety makes the drawing more interesting and it can make it come to life. One of my favorite artists, Steve Houston, is a master at this. The usual rule for this is that we want to have thicker line weight on objects that are closer to the eye and on the shadow areas, and thinner on objects that are far away from the eye and wherever the light touches. At this point, I did some research on wings, and I found many cool ones of eagles and owls that I referenced for this part, because I haven't drawn a lot of wings if I'm honest. So we're just gonna change the composition a bit here and add a tail to her back, and like smoke coming out of it. I just wasn't feeling the wings anymore and I thought this was cooler. After rambling in my head about her story, I was thinking that maybe she was a half-breed of an angel and a demon, and maybe she was rejected by both races, as her alignment fluctuated between being good and evil, and maybe she was cast away to live in the human world. After that little correction, we continue with the hair, and what is important here to understand is that we want to look for the shadows of the hair, and not the strands, because that is what really describes the form of the hair. And I really understood this until I started copying hair from statues, like Greek and Roman statues, because all they had were those shadows of hair and not the strands. So I recommend you to do that if you're learning how to draw hair. Again, we had to use some reference here of lizards to draw this part, and I wanted the skin and the scales to kind of fuse with her back a little bit, so it actually looks like the tail is coming from her. We continue to shade the scales individually until it becomes smoke and add some highlights. So I love the way smoke looks when it has a clear flowing shape. So we make the smoke by making swirling lines coming out from the end of the tail, which serve as the base of the smoke, and we continue to shadow. We just need to remember that when the smoke comes together it becomes darker as it's thicker, and when it comes apart it's lighter and less intense. Now that the smoke is done, we just add this graphic shape in the background, and here we have it. And so we finished this drawing. I hope you got some value from watching this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, because I have more videos and tutorials on the way and you don't wanna miss out. Thank you for watching. Peace.